And we are live. Sorry I'm late. Before we get into introductions, I'm just going to let people know why I was late. It's not because I'm a douche or anything, but because um, basically there was a plumbing emergency at my house. There was water leaking from my island on my first floor of my house into my basement, and no one could find where the leak was. So we finally had to go do some stuff, and I had to go pick up a faucet, and it was a real son of a bitch. Sorry. So
And he ain't paying for a plumber.
well, no. I have the plumber. I wasn't, because basically you can either get the faucet through the plumber, but they do an upcharge, or you can go get it, supply the thing yourself, which is just whatever you want to pay. Like, I bought a faucet for $104, and I'm just paying for the labor. If I'd have gone through the plumber, it would have been like 200 something for the same part. So, and I wasn't going to do that. So, let's
Ah.
see, I'm cheaper than chitlins in 1922. But that's just me. But before we get any further, let's go ahead and turn on the main water. Okay, I'll be right there. Let's introduce yourself, Joel.
I'll ask, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the BS Busters with Mr. Redwire Eli Moonstar. And trust me, I got my own rage about how RPGs are today, but I'll let Red go first because I'd probably be a little more inflamed than him, unless looks like I got the floor for a while. I'll put the setup at least. As far as we know, RPG getting smaller and smaller as far as the number of them that are exist. And we try to talk about how come we think those are being taken away. And apparently I'm going first for this. Well, I'll make my case first that most people can tire of being RPG'd and tactics, as in people are starting to lose their ability to think, as far as I could tell. Where the gameplay is so slow to them that more people want some cinematic, or mostly want all cinematics to go with it.
That's
Basically,
true.
I
That's
was
true.
wondering.
They want RPGs for dummies. It's which is hilarious to me. They want an RPG that isn't an RPG. They want an RPG that doesn't have any choices.
They want game.
Yeah, they want movie games with, the delusion of RPGs. One of the biggest offenders of this is Fallout 4.
I was going to say part of the Fallout series, but I didn't name specifically for.
Well, 4 is the most egregious because Fallout began as I want to say Vigil Entertainment. Yeah, Vigil Interactive wanted to create. They wanted to use one of the settings, like alternate settings. It's this alternate setting you could get for D&D, except instead of it being like fantasy and myth that D&D has, it was like a system that was built around a post-apocalyptic future. And that's what they wanted to build. It was basically built off of a role-playing thing instead of fantasy and myth and stuff. It was a post-apocalyptic radioactive future. And the first, 2.5 games that were under Vigil Interactive were made to be like that. Fallout 1 and 2 and Tactics, and then Vigil Interactive, because of other things, not Fallout, they died. The team that left Fallout went off and became Obsidian. Obsidian makes really good Western RPGs, so they still make RPGs.
Hey, Western RPGs, I got to grind with, but I'll let you.
Well, I mean, RPGs in the pure sense of the word. Like, to me, an RPG isn't just okay. I'm in a party. I have stats. Because I mean, you technically, if you play a football game or a soccer game that has player management, you have a party. You have stats. You can grind those characters to increase their stats. Is that an RPG though? There's a meta game going on with stats and skills and stuff like
Yeah,
that, but that's
you
not
want
really an RPG in the classical sense.
to have a group of heroes or a team of heroes, a big goal.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of an RPG though,
How so?
because you do have a group of characters, and if you're the coach, you are making choices for those characters. You are influencing them to grow certain ways and do certain things. So even then, I mean, I just, you know, stepping back and looking at it, because I remember I imported the iShield 21 video game for the Wii,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an RPG. Like it's a straight up, it's a football RPG. Like you have a team, you recruit characters. When you have games like in a character, like you give the ball to whomever, and they're about to get tackled. You have an RPG like battle where you can choose skills and stuff in order to slip the tackle. It's a straight up RPG. You have stats, you level up. I mean, actually, it's a pretty good game. It's in
Wish I
Japanese.
heard of it.
So. Well, I don't know the English translation for it because it never came to America. But
Sad, wish I heard of it because if anything, that would have been a good game to hope for.
yeah, but I mean, if you're a football, I mean, this is kind of a tangent. If you like football, iShield 21 is a great anime. I don't know why they never brought it. They never brought it to the States, but it was never localized. I mean, I don't think. Here, let me check. iShield 21. So what's your take of what of a good RPG is, and what do you think the flaw is with RPGs today?
I would say that a good RPG should have at least a few things that make it actually worth it in a sense. That you have a group of heroes, that you have the mechanics actually make sense in this, and that you can actually think of your moves or your party composition before each battle, as far as one location to another.
So you like the strategy of RPGs? You like the metagame? You like the
I like
getting to the nitty gritty? Yeah.
The planning, the idea, the management of how you actually work your party into the kind of team. Though, if anything, you got more as far as I could put it politely, finesse to it.
You want to know? You want to know what sounds like a genre that you'd like? The tactics games, because that's all they are.
Oh yeah, if I remember right, that reminded me of the Tactics Advance and A2.
Yeah, because those games were all about figuring out how to basically level up your characters and game the system, so that like figuring out how to bend the rules and game the system, which I love doing. I loved doing that in that game. Like, a great example would be
Ogre Wars.
Well, no, I was going to say a great example of gaming the system in Final Fantasy Tactics Advance and Advance 2 was having a human character that like early on you made into a soldier, and then you made him into you made him master archery, like the archer class, and then so that they could learn X fight, and then you turned him into like a major melee class, and then you give them the dual wield ability and two of the best swords in the game, and then let them use X fight on enemies with a high critical hit rate.
That'd be punishing for ill.
Oh yeah, Oh yeah, just kill enemies left and right, or figure out how to steal anything. Which yeah, you could put an enemy to sleep, but there was still a failure rate. But if you turned them into stone, you could steal them blind, and there's nothing they could do because it would always hit. I'm like, how am I stealing this from a statue? I don't know, but your shit's mine now.
That's evil, and I love that trickery.
That's what I love about I love about Final Fantasy Tactics. It was very Final Fantasy Tactics really rewarded, like strategy games like that reward you for figuring out how to game the system, how to kind of use the in-game
trickery to your advantage.
Correct, and I love that. I really do.
The original Tactics, I'm not a big fan of because I kind of even level up on that one. Characters that I would like to.
I don't know. I mean, for me, the death of RPGs was just like, I mean, I hate to say this, the over casualization of RPGs, in my opinion, to where they take away the strategy, they take away the choice, they take away the intricate stories.
Turning them into Kingdom Hearts syndrome.
Well, I mean, Kingdom Hearts are even dumber than Kingdom Hearts, which is hard to do, but that's where they're going.
As I said, they're Kingdom Hearts RPGs, and I could make all those jokes about hello Final Fantasy 15.
Yeah. I mean, it feels like the only people who still make RPGs that are just as complex and deep as they were when they first started is Enix, and let's see who else. Actually, yeah, Enix.
Oh God, boo! You're serious.
Well, I mean, because Dragon Quest has continued to be really deep throughout the years. It, like, as a matter of fact, I mean, they kind of made it a little bit easier. I
know that Dragon Quest is good. It's just that considering who has them right now.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand the Square Enix part of it, but I'm just saying that the Dragon Quest games have consistently been they haven't had the precipitous dip in quality that Final Fantasy had. Like, you can go and play Dragon Quest 1, 2, 3, and then play a more modern Dragon Quest, and the quality is still there. Whereas I go back and I play Final Fantasy 5, 4, 6, and I play Final Fantasy 15 or 14 or 13, and I'm like, yeah, this shit just went down the toilet. As a matter of fact, it didn't just go down the toilet; it went into the sewer.
Hey guys,
how's it going,
Sorry for being late. I was suffering some kind of issue with a system update for Pokemon Ultra Sun because I'm I just recently got a code for getting the event Entei and Raikou, but for some reason when after downloading the update for my Ultra Sun, I get an error upon starting up the game. And I called Nintendo support if there's any issues, and they say that they recommend me to send my 3DS onto them for any possible repairs. So there's a possibility that it might require restarting my whole game all over again. So they recommend me to send whatever Pokemon I need onto a Pokemon bank.
Have fun.
Yeah. So here I am trying to send whatever Pokemon I have available onto my Pokebank before I send my 3DS for repairs.
Well, since you're the last one to arrive, you got the floor about RPGs, or the fall of them, anyways.
Well, of course, RPGs is not for everyone since they take way too long to finish. I've learned this out. I found this out the hard way once I started getting into the more complex RPGs like Xenoblade Chronicles 2.
Surprised you don't have something like 5-minute hero.
And of course, I did try out one RPG back then, Quest 64.
I have bad memories of that game.
Yeah, I couldn't even get past the first enemies of the game because I had no idea what I was doing.
I at least made it to the first town, but after that it was a mess. So I barely got ahead of you. So how fun. If anything, I feel your struggle.
Yeah. How's it going, Sprite?
Hello.
Wow, we got 4 players here.
Yeah, just
I
enough to
make a joke about Mario Party.
Honestly, just enough to do a Tales of game, 4-player local multiplayer. Yeah, make sure there's no delay on my end because my internet it was kind of slow a few minutes ago, but I think it's back to normal speed now.
Ouch.
And also, I just recently found out that all of the hidden abilities for the Alolan starters are now available thanks to Pokebank.
Huh.
Thank God for Pokebank.
And because of that, Intimidate Incineroar is now legal and is now one of the most overused Pokemon in the video game competition.
All I'm going to say is this. The Pokebank, people say Nintendo's behind the times. The Pokebank is one of the best things ever. Because, see, y'all young folks don't know how it was back in the day. If you wanted to trade your Pokemon, you either had to buy another copy of Pokemon and have a link cable and somehow have another Game Boy. Or buy Pokemon Stadium. Or have Pokemon Stadium. That was it. Those were your only choices. Like, that's all you had.
Yeah.
And Pokemon Stadium was even more expensive than
the link cable.
Than the link cable and another copy of Pokemon. So the Pokemon Bank, $5 a year, and you could store all your Pokemon. I don't mind paying.
I was going to say best invest.
So Sprite, how's it going?
Good. Man, it's hard to believe it's less than 3 months to go until
E3.
Not E3. July 13th.
What's happening July 13th?
Oh, come on now.
I don't know.
Splatoon 2?
You mean the DLC for Splatoon 2?
Nope. That's up there though.
Sonic Mania Plus.
Octopath.
Yeah. Yeah. I already pre-ordered that game. I'm just. I already pre-ordered that game. That's the Square Enix RPG I've been looking forward to, and you know why I'm looking forward to that game? Because it has player choice. Your choices affect the gaming world, and it has interesting characters, which I like.
And it seems like every NPC is basically, they have something to do or give. It's not like, I can just ignore this NPC because I know what to do.
They're just going to say the same thing over and over and over again. Thank you.
Yeah.
Please give me money. One of my favorite old school RPGs was on the PS2. It was called Mana Khemia. There was a sequel, but the first one was the best. It was made by Gust, I believe. It's the same people who went on to make all those well, all those shitty Atelier games. You know those Atelier games where it's like it's almost kind of perverted because it's always like a young girl wearing a maid outfit, making things with alchemy, owning a shop.
I don't think I've ever heard of this game before. Must be an underrated title for the PS2.
No, man, they're like 20 games in.
This is my first time hearing it. Then
the Atelier games, the Atelier games. Here, I'll wiki you the thing because there's tons of these damn games, and they're like Atelier used to be good in the PS2 days, but then it went to the it kind of got shitty after the PS2 era, and now they're all like about like little girls running shops. It's weird.
Oh my god.
It's just really, really weird. Your thoughts on this, Pinky, Julia?
That's a here in a sense. If I think about it, isn't that mean that something like the Little Shop Adventure games that I've been?
Yeah, I hate those games.
I've been seeing. Huh?
Let's see. The name sounds familiar. Atelier.
Yeah. I mean, like back in the PS2 days, it was good because basically you'd have a male and female protagonist. The male protagonist, like both sides, you do alchemy. You'd go to an alchemy pot. You'd make weapons and items and stuff with alchemy. But then it got like more and more kind of like two female protagonists and just like shitty. The combat sucks, and I'm like, I don't see the point of this because the combat in the games used to be kind of good, but now it's just kind of.
Oh yeah, I remember. So I think I've seen like pictures of it just recently.
Yeah, these games used to be good, and I mean, I even have the Monica Mia ones, which I like. But then they became the Atelier games, and they suck. I mean, the Atelier games are not good at all. They're just, ugh.
Yeah, because they just came out with one on PlayStation 4 like a couple weeks ago.
And they're porting one over to the Switch, which is like, ugh.
This very Moe-esque.
Yeah, it's not very good. I mean, they're just
after hearing that.
The Atelier games used to be good, but they kind of went downhill because they're very like the combat.
They start pandering towards waifus.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot of JRPGs nowadays. It seems like.
Yeah,
that's part of the reason why, like, I'm very excited for Octopath because it's something new and fresh. Like, it's not just straight up like, oh, heavy on the weeb, I guess you could say.
You want to know what Octopath reminds me of? And it just hit me. It reminds me of a modern interpretation of Romancing Saga. Because Romancing Saga was like that. Like you had like different characters, they all had their motivations, and sometimes different characters would run into each other, and you could get them to join your party and go off and do stuff. But Romancing Saga was not an easy RPG. Like Romancing Saga got balls hard because basically
there's a lot of things in that game.
What, Romancing Saga?
Yeah, as far as mechanical depth.
Oh yeah, and one of the cool things about Romancing Saga is that grinding didn't help you because basically the more powerful you got, the more powerful the enemies got. So basically, if you grind it too much, the enemies would be damn near impossible to beat. It was one of those games where it's like, oh shit, I can't afford to be like it broke. It broke the normal conventions that you'd have in
In what exactly?
Well, the normal conventions of RPG says if you're having problems with the boss, go back to an earlier area and grind, and then go and fight the boss. Romancing Saga don't play that. Romancing Saga is like, okay, the boss's level might not change, but the enemies around the boss level up with you. So basically, like if you're and it doesn't have Romancing Saga doesn't have traditional levels. Like basically you do things and that makes your stats go up. So like if you use swords, your sword skill will go up. If you take hits, your HP will go up. And actually, when you're in a critical condition and your character looks like they're about to die, sometimes they'll have like a flash of inspiration, like literally a light bulb will go over their head, and they'll learn some really powerful special attack that can change the battle. But there's no guarantee. So, and if a character dies, it's like, shit, I don't know what to do, you know? I mean, Romancing Saga always was kind of like one of those unsung heroes of that Squaresoft never brought over. Except they never. I mean, except for the first ones for the Game Boy.
I'm about to say they did bring. Didn't they do like Saga Frontier on PlayStation 1?
Yeah, but that was like that was way after the fact. You know.
Okay.
I mean, it would be like if Nintendo said, "Hey guys, you want It would be the equivalent if Nintendo was like, okay. Forget Mario Brothers and Mario 1, 2, and 3 and Super Mario World. We're just going to bring Yoshi's Island. Like, it's like, who is this character and why should I care? That's how it feels with Saga Frontier. Saga Frontier is not a bad game, but it's just, you know.
Yeah. And then I always think of Octopath as basically reminds me a lot of Seiken Densetsu 3. Because the different party members had to have their own stories and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean that kind of came from before Seiken Densetsu did that. Romancing Saga was doing that. They just never brought that shit over. I mean that's the sad thing about Square Enix is that they have all these RPGs that they never brought over that are really good. I'm like, you know.
Because I was looking at some of the stuff they never brought over, and I was like, "Oh wow, there's so many stuff on like that was only on the Super Famicom, and it never got localized or anything." Like Bahamut Lagoon, I think that was the last one.
Yep. I mean, okay, Romancing Saga 1. Okay, Romancing Saga 1 sucks. Romancing Saga 2 is okay. Romancing Saga 3 is really good. Live Alive, Bahamut Lagoon, Front Mission 2, Gun Hazard. That's a really good game. It's not an RPG. It plays more like Cybernator.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fun though. Anytime you're in a giant mech shooting people, that's a fun game. Your guys' thoughts? You guys got real quiet. Come on, speak up. It's a podcast, damn it. It's a podcast, damn it.
I was honestly listening because these are things I never heard of, and that actually got me curious.
What, Front Mission Gun Hazard?
I haven't heard of
because
I've heard of the series. I mean, I've heard of the series, and I played a little bit of the first one, like a fan translation, but that's all I know.
Well, I mean, there's Front Mission, which came to America, and it's basically a strategy game with mechs. I mean, you know, it has a pretty...
I was going to say, okay.
What?
Like Warhammer 40K? Yeah. I'm dork here right now.
No, it's kind of like Final Fantasy Tactics, except instead of individual characters, you have people in these giant mechs called Wanzers, spelled Wanzers. And like when you go to the various shops in the game to like get new parts for your Wanzers, it changes the overall stats of your Wanzers, which basically are also influenced by what skills the pilots have. So like if you have a Wanzer that has parts that make it more melee able, and you have a pilot who's really good at melee attacks, they can learn stuff like double punch and like crippler, which like destroys different body parts. So I mean, there's like strategy involved with it. Like you'd probably like it a lot, Jewel, because you like strategy games with an overall meta game.
That actually sounds so epic.
Yeah, but Gun Hazard is the sequel, but Gun Hazard is completely different than every other Front Mission game because it's real time. It's not turn-based combat. I mean, there's RPG stuff. You get experience from defeating enemies, and you level up. And the more you use a weapon, the better it gets. Like the better you get with it, your mastery goes up of it. But it's not turn-based combat. It's like real time, but it's kind of like Cybernator. except there's missions. Like you can get a party member to join you. You can go out and call in airstrikes. You can buy weapons to equip, but it's like more actiony. It's actually a pretty fun game. It has a pretty cool story too. Although prepare to die a lot. Yeah, it never came to America because Square Enix just like here's the problem with Square Enix. They went all in on Final Fantasy to the detriment of everything else. It's like having 5 kids and one of them gets like does really well in like 1 year in basketball, and then to the detriment of your other 4 kids, you just go all in on that one kid who did really good in basketball his sophomore year.
And then watch that sophomore go into their senior year and well,
yeah, they're just they shat the bed, yeah. And your other 4 kids are just totally neglected. That's the problem with Square Enix is that they have all these kids and they only focused on one of them.
Wait, have you guys read Alex's latest article about
no, I have not. But I will take a look at it right now because we're talking about
RPGs,
and you know it's always good to talk about RPGs. What if Square joined forces with Sega? Boy, that would have been 2 people dragging themselves down under the toilet.
I was about to say, like trying to match a werewolf with a vampire.
Is this because the whole Yuji Naka joining Square Enix?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't read it fully yet.
I mean, I hate to say this, but Yuji Naka hasn't made a good game in years. And I know some people will say, well, what about that game he made that was basically the spiritual successor to Nights in the Dreams? That game's not that good.
What about that Kiwi game? What about that Kiwi game?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is either.
I think when I think of Yuji Naka, I think of Sonic, I think of Billy Hatcher, and
Nights in the Dreams, yeah. And Sonic was good, and then Billy Hatcher was good, but Nights in the Dreams, I always felt was like, this game feels like a really pretty tech demo. It doesn't feel like a very good game to me. Like a game in the classical sense of what a game is.
Yeah, like me and my bro, we've been in like way back when on the Saturn. I couldn't figure out what to do. I was just in all the graphics, really.
I mean, it like I said, it feels like a tech demo. I mean, before anyone says you're just a Nintendo fanboy. No, Nintendo has games that feel like a glorified tech demo. Like I like F-Zero, but it's a glorified tech demo. Pilot Wings is a glorified tech demo. It's fun, but it's a tech demo.
Good music.
Yeah, but it's a tech demo. I mean, it's there to show off Mode 7. I mean, that's what it's there for. Star Fox is there to show off the FX chip. I mean, it's a fun game. Look, my favorite Star Fox will always be the first one because the gimmick was that it was 3D polygons, and aside from that, it was a solid rail shooter, and you can't beat that. But I mean, it's a glorified demo. It's really hard to build a game around a demo. Nintendo's good at it, though. I mean, they're better at it than some other companies, like that company that made that game, that 5-hour game for the PlayStation 4, where you shoot werewolves. Steampunk werewolves. I forgot the name of it, but it's like 5 hours long. You can beat it in one sitting.
Oh, you mean the Order 1880?
Yeah, there you go. The odor. Yeah. The odor. The odor. It stinks. Yeah, that was too easy. I'm sorry. I went for low-hanging fruit on that one. Oops. But yeah,
there's some RPGs.
I guess we can talk about some of our favorite RPGs on the systems that we like. So who wants to go first? And you can include handhelds.
Let's see. Currently on the Switch, it's going to be Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and on the 3DS, it's Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon. That is of course you count Pokemon as an RPG, as a JRPG.
It counts as RPG Light.
Yeah, I consider it for RPG light.
Then, and I guess we couldn't consider Fire Emblem either, since it's technically a strategy.
Yeah, it's a strategy game. Yeah.
Seems like almost none of Nintendo's RPG games aren't true RPGs.
No, there's Paper Mario 1 and 2. There's Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Those are RPGs. That series is an RPG series.
Luigi is basically an RPG series, as far as I know it.
And then there's Golden Sun.
Please.
That was an RPG series, like a straight up RPG series.
So in terms of traditional RPGs, I'll probably go with Bowser's Inside Story then.
Yeah, that's traditional RPG. That's a good one.
Paper Jam for handhelds, though it's hard to think of a RPG for consoles since, well,
then when we say favorite RPG, do you mean like every system we own, or just like the more recent ones?
Just any ones you want.
Okay, I'm about to say every single one we can be here all night.
I mean, you just the one like okay, I'll give an example.
I think I'm just gonna pick like maybe like one from every console that I can think.
Yeah, one from every console that you're like, okay, if I had to be on an island and I had the power to power these consoles and handhelds without needing a whole bunch of batteries or anything, these are the RPGs I would bring with me that I could play over and over and over again and never get tired. Go. Spray.
All right. Well, for 3DS, it'll definitely be Bravery Default because I enjoyed that game a lot.
That is a good game.
The Switch, I already mentioned it earlier, but in less than 3 months, it'll be Octopath.
Yeah, that game looks so good.
Let's see. Anything else I can think of in terms of like that I can just take with me anywhere? I have Star Ocean 2 on PSP.
Yeah,
that fixes the voice acting for one.
Star Ocean is one of those RPGs where it's like the premise is so good, but the execution in every single one of them sucks so badly. It's like, it's a really good idea, but the execution sucks. Because, I mean, the idea of an RPG set in a future where there's technology and stuff, really cool. The execution, it just boils down to being a standard JRPG with dudes with swords and magic. I'm like, this could have been like a modern interpretation of Phantasy Star, but you fuck it up by having swords and sorcery and shit. I mean, I don't care who you are. If you're in the future and someone has a laser gun and you just have a sword, a steel-forged sword, I don't care. Dude with a laser gun wins every time.
I was going to say, you can't bring a sword to a gunfight.
Especially a laser gun.
And
but what if it's a laser sword that can block a laser gun?
Well, one of the cool things about the first Star Ocean is that in the opening part of the game, you get the most powerful weapon of the game, which is a laser sword, but you can't use it until the end of the game, which is weird. But no, continue, Sprite. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no, it's fine. DS would be Bowser's Inside Story. GBA would be Golden Sun.
That is a good game.
Even though 1 and 2 is kind of like neck and neck, but I'm gonna give it a 1 because it was the first one.
You can include those as one game because they're almost like one.
Yeah, because it's like a dual. Because it's pretty much a duology, basically.
Yeah.
So I'll include those. Game Boy Color. It would be. Why not? Pokemon Silver.
How dare you? No, I'm joking.
Then that's for all the handhelds I can think of. Console. SNES Final Fantasy VI. I mean, that was kind of a given.
What? Chrono Trigger? How dare you?
PlayStation 1. Ooh, that either Final Fantasy 9 or Tactics. One of those two.
All right.
I would put in Suikoden 2, but I haven't played it all the way. So
Suikoden is one of those games where it's like I really like Suikoden, but like I hate Suikoden at the same time because I'm one of those people who wants to get the best ending. And you can't really, if you want to get the best ending of Suikoden, you need to use a strategy guide or FAQ.
Anything else I think of? PS2. Well, I'm sorry, I'll do GameCube first. GameCube, it'll be Tales of Symphonia. PS2, since we're talking about PS2, it'll probably be Tales of Abyss. Or
that's a good game.
Yeah, I'll go with Tales of Abyss. PS3 would be. Oh, that's a tough one. Tales of Grace's F, probably. That's pretty much the only good job.
Even though that was a Wii game, though.
Yeah, that's like
Namco Bandai.
That's one like ooh, and of course Wii does Xenoblade, and Wii use Xenoblade X.
Okay, and obviously for the Switch, it's Xenoblade Chronicles 2, right? Or Octopath Traveler.
Octopath
hasn't come out yet.
that demo sold me within like the first 10 minutes of playing.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's your list, so I guess I'll go next since I also have a huge list, and it's not going to take me long to get through it. Game Boy, I'm going to go with Final Fantasy Tactics. Final Fantasy Legend 2, which is actually Saga 2. It's the second Saga game because there's 3 of them on the Game Boy and then 3 of them on the SNES. Yeah, Saga is huge. They never brought they only brought the first 3 games to America. Stupid bastards. So yeah, but yeah, Saga 2 on the Game Boy. Game Boy Color, I'm gonna go with Robopon. That's right, folks. Robopon. It's like Pokemon, only not.
I've heard about it. They used the Sun and Moon logo subtitles before Pokemon.
Yeah, Robopon was kind of like a knockoff of Pokemon, except instead of monsters, you had robots, and it had a little peripheral where you could aim it at. You could aim your TV remote at it, and it would pick up signals in order to get special robots. And the cool thing about Robopon, in my opinion, was that like you could your robots could learn different abilities, like more than 4, and it was just
depending on what they're equipped with.
Yeah, you could equip them with stuff, and they could learn different special attacks. You could teach them new special attacks and combine existing ones to create entirely new ones, which is something that Pokemon still hasn't got. You're behind the curve, fuckers. And I thought that would be really cool. I mean, you can kind of do that in the Mystery Dungeon games, combine different moves in order to create a new move, but Robopon did it first, bitches. Robopon for the Game Boy Color. For the Game Boy Advance, I'm going with Golden Sun 1 and 2 Duology, because, I mean, those 2 games are so damn good. They're just... those games are so good.
I'm pretty. Had it been, I figure if those games was on GameCube, I pretty much can see them being like 2 discs in one case.
Yeah. Let's see. For the DS, I'm going with Radiant Historia.
Oh.
Because Radiant Historia to me is basically like the Chrono Trigger sequel we never got done well, because Chrono Cross is a piece of shit. Fuck that game.
And yeah, I found somebody that actually would defend Chrono Cross.
Yeah, Chrono Cross can go fuck itself. I hate that game. Because they tried to tie it's like, here's the thing, Chrono Cross is not a bad RPG, but the fact that they tried to tie it to Chrono Trigger is offensive.
Yeah, they should have just named it something completely different, had no ties with Chrono Trigger whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just treat Chrono Trigger as a standalone title in the series.
Chrono Trigger is its own thing.
Just like every other Final Fantasy title.
Each one is its own thing. There's certain tropes that are shared. Like all of them have Phoenix Downs and potions and elixirs, and magic has a similar magic system, but each one tells its own story. And I like that. I like that they have their own thing. That's where they fucked up with 13. They made 2 direct sequels to 13, and I'm like, why? No one asked.
Hey, at least it's not, oh, look how good Final Fantasy 10 is. Then they made 10 too. Funny, Final Fantasy 10 was Squaresoft. Final Fantasy 10 was Square Enix. Let that sink in.
Yeah, but it was still made by Hironobu Sakaguchi. I think 10-2 was Hironobu Sakaguchi's "fuck you" to Square Enix. He's like, you know what? Fuck you, bitches! I'm out. And take this turd with me. But I digress. So for the 3DS, my favorite RPG for the 3DS is a tough one because 3DS has some really good RPGs. I'm gonna have to go with Mario Luigi Dream Team. I know you don't control a huge party, but that game is just so polished. It's so polished. It's so polished for a game.
I was gonna say, it's like looking at the sun. At least,
well, it's not that polished, but I mean, like basically, it takes. You can tell that everything they learned from Bowser's Inside Story and Partners in Time and Superstar Saga, everything they learned in all three of those games leading up to Dream Team, and they put it into one package, and they made a game that's just really well made. It's really well crafted. Plus, you finally get to kill Fawful, that piece of shit. So that's always no. That was Bowser's Inside Story. You kill Fawful. But anyway, it's still really good. But Luigi, you find out, and also it does something that I wish Nintendo would do in the mainline games, which is show that Luigi isn't a whiny, scary little bitch. Because he really isn't. Like, I don't know why. I don't know how that thing became a meme. But
that predated back in the Super Mario Brothers Super Show.
Yeah, but it kind of made sense back then. But even then, like, he'd still, when push came to shove, he'd still do what he had to do in order to, save the day. Like this thing where he's like, "I'm so scared, Mario. What are we gonna do, Mario?" Yeah, I'm not using the Chris Martinet voice for Luigi because I don't like Chris Martinet's voice of these characters. Sorry. I don't like Mario and Luigi sounding like they've been punched in the balls like 20 times. Sorry.
In the perfect world, Mario would still be talking in Japanese like those early anime adaptations he had in the 80s.
I mean, that's cool, but just for me, like, my favorite, because it's just the way I grew up, I like Mario sounding like he's a man. We talk like this, Luigi, we gotta save the princess. Like, that's what I like. Just for me personally, like, I've never really liked Martinet's voice. Even though I can do a reasonable impression of it, but I just don't like it. But that's just
rubs you the wrong way.
I just don't like that voice. It's just
well, at least one thing is different is at least like the fans like Mario and stuff, they can pretty much like, oh, hey, Charles Martinez, it's not like how diverse it can get for like the voice of Sonic.
Well, no. I mean, for me, I don't really care about Sonic's voice. I mean, I grew up listening to Jaleel White do the voice for years, so I mean, that's just how it was. Because he did the voice for like all the versions of Sonic that we knew about at the time. So I mean, that's what we had. That's how we had to go with it. So it sounds kind of weird when someone else does Sonic's voice, but that's just me. But for consoles, I've got a lot of consoles, but I'm just gonna stick with Nintendo ones and the PlayStation because those primarily had the RPGs. So for the NES, my favorite RPG for the NES is gonna be Dragon Quest 3, aka Dragon Warrior 3, because it basically lets you create your own party. You create your hero, male or female, and you'd answer a series of questions which would determine your stats and skills, and then you'd go to the tavern once the king gave you some money and create your own party, and that was revolutionary at the time. You could create your own party with their own stats, and they could class up and learn different abilities and become different classes later on in the game. I mean, it was a lot of depth for a console title. SNES, I'm going Chrono Trigger. I like Final Fantasy VI and Earthbound. Honorable mentions, those are great games, but Chrono Trigger just, it's perfect. For the 5th gen, I'm going to say for the Sega Saturn, Shining Force 3. Great game. Too bad here in America we never got the 3rd disc. Fuck you, Bernie Stone.
God damn it, Bernie.
For the PlayStation 1, I'm going to say an RPG that isn't a Square Enix RPG. I'm going to say Persona. Like the very first Persona game was on the PS1. That's right. Persona. And for the N64, this is an RPG that actually exists. And it's not a very good RPG, but for some reason I love it. And it's called Aiden Chronicles: The First Mage. Not a good game, but I just like it because it's an actual RPG. So the 6th gen GameCube, I'm going to say Baten Kaitos. I love Tales of Symphonia. Okay, I do.
Yeah,
I love that game. And Baten Kaitos, both of these games came from Namco Bandai, but here's the difference. Baten Kaitos was made by the people who eventually become Monolith Soft.
And I was surprised by that choice. I figured it was going to be Skies of Arcadia.
Yeah, but that's a Dreamcast game, and Dreamcast is on my list, and that's going to be for the Dreamcast. That's I'm not leaving it behind. I mean, look, the GameCube version of that game is better, but I got to go with the original because you wouldn't have the port if you didn't have the original. For the PS2, I'm going with Shadow Hearts, the entire Shadow Hearts trilogy. Those games are so awesome because they are set in a alternate World War I era, where you have like werewolves and demons, but also like soldiers and tanks and semi-modern shit, which is cool. And Dreamcast, I mean, it's the Dreamcast, so I got to go with, like I said, Skies of Arcadia. Great game, great music, great characters. And damn you, Sega, why didn't we ever get a sequel to that game? Bastards. And I'm going to name a game on the Xbox One, even though I played it on PC, but it was originally on the Xbox One. Jade Empire. I mean, how many games let you basically be Bruce Lee and beat the shit out of people? Basically, yeah. For the 7th gen, for the Wii, I know a lot of people are gonna say, why didn't you say Xenoblade Chronicles? I actually I'm not in love with Xenoblade Chronicles. My favorite RPG for the Wii is actually Opuna. No, Opuna. Opuna is an RPG where you play this kid whose parents crash land on a planet, and you're separated from your siblings, and your parents are in a coma, and you have to get a job and do various odd jobs in order to raise enough money in order to move further into the game so that you can save your parents and eventually the entire planet. And you attack enemies with this power orb that floats over your character's head. You have to use the Wiimote in order to basically pull the thing back and then use trajectory in order to hit enemies in certain spots, because enemies, like, battles are semi-real time because enemies can block attacks. So you have to like use the curve of your attack in order to go behind enemy shields and hit them in the head, hit them certain parts of the body to do extra damage. It's actually a pretty fun little RPG.
That's an interesting way of hits in.
Yeah, and it also has one of the most interesting side job system, because one of them you can become a dance idol on a dancing channel. You have to follow the right things, but seeing little Opuna, who looks like a little fat bald-headed kid with a ball floating over his head, getting down and dancing is actually hilarious as hell. And that gives it points above Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one, to me. Because it's just so strange that it's like, this is really strange.
Weird, it's funny.
Yeah, it's so strange. Like, I like quirky RPGs. Like, and Xenoblade Chronicles is a good RPG, but it's not quirky. It's just like, yeah, I kind of saw this coming. Okay, that twist I didn't see coming, but
it's like Gundam.
What?
To me, I consider the Xenoblade in a way like Gundam.
Yeah, there's always going to be a betrayal by someone who you think is your friend, and the church is never to be trusted. There's always someone shady and nefarious. It's like, okay, yeah, this person's gonna die. It's like, oh yeah, whatever. But PlayStation 3, my favorite RPG for the PS3 is Ni no Kuni, the first one. That game, I know you hate that one, but to me, that's like one of my favorite RPGs ever. Because I like the story, I like the characters, I like the fairies. What won me over for that game is the part where you go inside the mother of all fairies' body, into her uterus to help her unborn babies from being killed by demon monsters, and then help them be born.
What's this Earthbound?
No, that was Ni no Kuni. That was the first Ni no Kuni. I'm like, the fact that you had this in this game and you have this childlike Studio Ghibli aesthetic, but you're doing some fucked up shit like that. You won me over. Well, I mean, you just heard me say I like quirky RPGs, and that's quirky.
That's out there. I'm just saying that right now.
Yeah, it's quirky as hell, and I love quirky RPGs. Like, I hate like straight up like I'm just a dude with a sword fighting a dragon. Like, I need more than that. I can't have like I've evolved beyond that. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. The Xbox 360 had one good RPG that I borrowed my friend's 360 in order to play. Tales of Vesperia.
Yeah.
That's a really good RPG. Maybe one of the best JRPGs. It may be one of the. It's like I would put it a little bit below Tales of Symphonia in terms of the Tales games. It's one of the two good modern Tales games that exist. Because after that, it's all downhill from there, in my opinion. Because the modern, the Tales games they have now, Zestiria and Berseria. Oh god, those suck. But let's see. After that, and Zillia. I gagged a little bit on that one. They made a sequel to that. I'm like, why does this shit doesn't need a sequel? But that's neither here nor there. Eighth gen. Eighth gen, I'm gonna have to go with for the Wii U. There weren't a lot of RPGs on the Wii U, so I'm gonna have to go with the one that I owned. I'm gonna have to go with Tokyo Mirage Sessions, or as I like to call it, Persona Emblem.
I was gonna say Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE.
What?
Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE.
Yeah, I know, but I'm calling it Persona Emblem because that's what it is. It's Persona cross with Fire Emblem. Persona Emblem. Persona Emblem, I loved it. It was a great game. What else? For the PS4, I haven't really. I mean,
I'm just gonna put that out here. Okay, I'm just
on PS4.
Here's the problem. Most of the RPGs that were exclusive, quote unquote, exclusive to the PS4 also come to PC. So, like, I'll just say like Ni no Kuni 2, but that's also, I could say Persona 5, but that's also on the PS3. So,
I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I've got PS4. I'm gonna go ahead and say it. I'm going to say it. Kingdom Hearts 3.
That game's not even out yet. How are you? How is that your favorite when it's not even out yet?
There's no other JRPGs I can think of in that system.
Yeah, but Kingdom Hearts is a JRPG.
I feel dirty now.
It's not an RPG. It's an action game with light RPG elements. But that's neither here nor there. The Xbox One. I don't know. I mean, there's like no RPGs for that system. I guess. Yeah, there's no RPGs for that system. I'm sorry. I mean, there might be something, but nothing I can think of. Mass Effect Andromeda, but that kind of sucks.
Monster Hunter World.
Hey.
What about Blue Dragon from the 360?
Yeah, well, we were talking about the Xbox One.
Oh, okay.
And on the 360, Blue Dragon is not a bad game, but Tales of Vesperia is better. It's a better game. It's a better game than Blue Dragon. Like that's the problem. Like there's some really good games, but it's just like it's been a very shitty generation for RPGs, the 8th gen. But now we're in the 9th gen with the Switch. Thus far, I've really enjoyed Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I mean, it's not my favorite. A tie with Tokyo Mirage is Xenoblade Chronicles X. Both of those games are really good. You know,
and also the most controversial.
Tokyo Mirage has better graphics, but Xenoblade Chronicles X has better combat. So it depends on what you like. If you like a meta game with really good combat, Xenoblade Chronicles X is your friend. If you like
not the type of controversy I'm talking about. I'm talking about like the localization changes from both games.
Oh, you mean the fact that they changed the age so that people wouldn't be perving on a 12-year-old girl? Yeah. Yeah, because you know, as a man in his 30s, it's totally appropriate for me to be looking at a scantily clad 12-year-old. No, it's not. I'm being facetious.
There's some things that make you wonder, how did this get buzzers?
Yeah. So
what is wrong with Japan?
Well, I mean, that's one of the like Japan. You got to get your shit together.
And cultural differences, like.
Yeah, there's some things where I'm like, okay, I can understand cultural differences, but I don't care who you are. If you're a 30-some-year-old man and you're knocking on someone's door to take their daughter out, and their daughter is 12, you need your ass beat.
As I said, some things that just make you wonder, how did this get by the censors?
And this weird preoccupation with old dudes taking high school girls out. I'm like, you still need your ass beat. You have no business talking to a high school age girl if you're a grown ass man. I'm sorry, like none.
I'm hearing this is also a major problem in Japan. It's called Chikan.
Oh, you mean groping? You mean groping women in crowded places? No, that's not just a Japanese thing. That's India, Iran, Iraq, Syria, like basically places that are ultra chauvinistic. You have men who feel like, you know, I can do this because, you know, it's my prerogative.
Women are considered property. Women
are considered less than, so you can do it. Or they rationalize it in their head. They're like, well, she's dressed in a certain way, so she's putting it out there, so I'm gonna take it. It's like, well, we're not going to go off onto a tangent, but basically, Japan, that whole 12-year-old sexualization thing, fuck you. No, that's not cool. Not cool at all. Speaking of changes, who here thinks that in the next Xenoblade game, they should bring back a combat system more like X versus the kind of oversimplified combat system they had in 2?
Well, there are already plans on making a sequel to Xenoblade Chronicles X. From what I've been told, the first Xenoblade X ended in a cliffhanger, meaning it's going to be a sequel hook.
I mean, personally, I just hope they raise the level cap from 60 to 100 and make it a little bit cheaper to get mechs, because I don't feel like spending $3 million to replace a mech after my insurance runs out, because fuck that. And
insurance blows.
Teaching you real life, man.
No, that isn't real life. That's not real life. Look, no one has totaled a car and paid $3 million to replace it. Okay.
Definitely. That's definitely over the top. More like maybe $300,000, maybe.
Not unless you've got a Rolls Royce or a Bugatti. And if you're totaling a Rolls Royce or a Bugatti, your insurance is going to cover it, period. Yeah.
I was going to say, you must be a stunt driver.
Yeah, but even then, those cars are made to be destroyed. Like, they're going to, I mean, kind of like that car that was in Death Proof, where it's like made to be in wrecks. If you don't like gore, don't watch Death Proof. But that stunt car that the guy has is Yeah, that's a stunt car, but that's neither here nor there. No, I think the combat in Xenoblade Chronicles X was a lot better because you could aim for different body parts. Plus, you had the whole topple, burn, break, uplift, launch, yeah, bash. He had all that stuff, but you also, it's like, oh, so you want to hit me with that arm, huh? Oh, my arm is broken. Oh, I'll kick you with this leg. Oh, you want to kick me with that leg, huh? Not my leg.
That's
to be like the SpongeBob guy.
Focus torture.
Yeah, it's like
that's focus torture.
Well, I'll bash you with this bone. I'll bash you with my horn on my head. Take this. Not my horn. Now I got nothing. Oh wait, I hit you with my tail. Ha ha! Not my tail. God damn it! Why? Let's call it a draw. I mean, they're like the Black Knight from Monty Python. It's like you have no arms or legs, sir. Well, let's call it a draw. It's like, no. You've crossed the line too many times, sir. But yeah, I thought the battle system in that was a lot better. It could be gamed because if you raised your evasion high enough, you would dodge everything, like everything.
Kind of like how a certain game sneaks so well that you hide in plain sight.
What game is that? I'm sorry.
Morrowind.
Oh yeah. Morrowind and Oblivion had enchantments you could put on your stuff that would basically, like, you could put a chameleon invisibility spell that basically made it that if you crouched and moved really slowly, you'd be invisible and no one could detect you. And you could just steal shit from people's pockets. They never see it coming. Get right in front of a dude stealing shit. That's I mean, I love stuff like that. But yeah, basically I'm just saying Xenoblade Chronicles X had the better system in my opinion. But yeah, I'm an RPG lover. I love them. And I think they've kind of gone downhill over, especially in the eighth gen. I mean, the RPG quality has gone downhill in the 8th and 7th gen, but especially in the 8th.
I think I mentioned this a while back. It's like the 8th gen and stuff. Basically, the decline in quality was so real that it was like all the good JRPGs was basically on handhelds.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, like the console AAA RPGs don't exist on consoles. Like Ni no Kuni 2 isn't really a AAA RPG because it's an
action RPG.
What?
It's an action RPG.
Well, yeah, it is more of an action RPG, but I mean in the classical sense, because Level 5 made another RPG that's very much like Ni no Kuni 2, but I think it had a better story, and it was called Rogue Galaxy. That was a really good game. Had a really cool story and awesome twists and stuff. And I mean, just Level 5 is the budget RPG game studio. Like, if you want to make a really good RPG on a budget, they're your team. And Ni no Kuni 2 is one of those. I mean, it's okay, but it's not as good as the first game. And Final Fantasy 15, which I mean. I mean, I don't personally think Final Fantasy 15 is very good, but it also didn't make as much money as it was supposed to, so we can call that a failure.
Kingdom Hearts Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it's Kingdom Hearts with a Final Fantasy skin. And then you have, I mean, on the Xbox, there's practically no JRPGs whatsoever. There's no RPGs. I mean, Mass Effect Andromeda is basically a third-person shooter with RPG elements, but it's not an RPG. So I mean, Dragon Age Inquisition, but that's last gen. I mean, and that game kind of sucks too. So I mean, it's just, I mean, I think the Switch. I mean, but I mean, the Wii U had like a couple of good JRPGs. I mean, you had Xenoblade Chronicles X and Persona Emblem. Persona Emblem. And Persona Emblem, or Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, which is what I'm calling it, because that's what they originally called it, and they changed it to Tokyo Mirage Sessions FE or F sharp, whatever. But I'm calling it Persona Emblem. But I loved Persona Emblem. Let me look at the comment section. See if there's any questions or comments. But anyone have any other topics they want to bring up about RPGs?
Let's see, I got one. I remember how Sega's former president used to say that RPGs don't sell well in the West. Well, technically,
look what happened when. I was going to say, look what happened to the Saturn when that happened.
Well, technically, he's not wrong. Since RPGs are a niche genre.
Yeah, but just because something is a niche doesn't mean that it's not a viable commercial outlet. Like luxury vehicles aren't like hardcore computer gaming is a niche, but people make money off of it. You know, so you can't.
This is referring to games that are expected to sell like Call of Duty numbers or GTA.
Well, no, it's not gonna sell Call of Duty, GTA, or Super Mario numbers. But if you budget well, you can make money off of it. I mean, shit. Look, it doesn't matter. Look. The company doesn't care where you get the money as long as you're making more money than you're putting out. It's successful.
And that's the reason why some people don't know the meal or budget.
Yeah, they don't know. They don't know budget.
And then there's the fact that people nowadays have a certain hatred towards anime art styles in their RPGs and prefer hyper realistic styles.
I mean, a lot of it's like all over the place. Like kind of like how nowadays, like all this realism style. This is going on. That's what happened to a lot of RPGs. It's like anime S style. Not just that kind of game, not just that kind of genre, but a lot of genres that's like prevalent in Japan or from Japan that have that problem. It's a lot of anime S status.
I mean, look, Final Fantasy
bullet hells are like that now.
Yeah, Final Fantasy went from like looking like stylistically cel-shaded sprites to having Bishonen looking male characters who look like women.
Yeah, and I also read that it's cultural differences too. Like a affectionate male is considered like straight, but if it's like someone that's like buff and muscular, they're considered gay in Japan. It's like opposite. Weird. It's like opposite over here.
That's weird because I'm seeing dudes like I'm seeing animes in like Japanese characters in RPGs, especially Final Fantasy as of late, where the women look more masculine than the men, and the men look like women, and it's like I don't know who I'm supposed to like. This like I mean I'm just gonna say this. The dudes look fucking gorgeous, and if I didn't know that it was a dude, I would be like, "Wow, that's a pretty good looking chick." But it's a dude. No, I can't.
There's actually a fetish for dudes who actually 100% look like women. Like
they call them Bishonen or new halves. But I'm not talking about that. I'm just saying I don't like that. What's up, Alex?
Oh yes, sorry if I'm late.
No, that's okay, man.
You're just joining in.
We were just talking about the fetish that people have towards men who look 100% women, aka traps, according to the otaku culture.
Yeah, but that wasn't. We kind of went off on a tangent. I was just saying that I was tired of effeminate-looking male characters in JRPGs because it's getting old. Really, really goddamn old. Unless it's part of the character. Like if they did a spin-off of Chrono Trigger with Flea, who's apparently a dude who looks really feminine. That'd be cool. That'd be an interesting RPG, you know.
It's just a lot of JRPGs. Like they blend together because they all look the same nowadays. It's not like back then. Final Fantasy was more like medieval style. Now it's all like anime-esque.
Yeah.
But I will say this though: Dragon Quest has pretty much been the most consistent mostly because it's still Akira Toriyama.
They just stick with Armor Bird Studios, which is Toriyama's studio, to do the artwork. Which, I mean, look, when in doubt, go with Akira Toriyama. He's not going to let you down, okay? I mean, it might not be as sharp as it was back in the day when he could, like, ink shit that looked just perfect, but it's, you know, it's going to get the job done.
Yeah.
Your thoughts, Alex?
No, what's up now? What's up?
We were talking about the downfall of RPGs.
Yeah, we were talking about how RPGs kind of went downhill over the last few years.
Well, maybe longer than that.
Well, okay, since the 6th gen, they've been going downhill.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I think a part of it was Sony not giving support to Japanese RPGs like they did during the 5th gen because they wanted to shut Nintendo out of the market. And once they did it during the 5th gen, they just stopped caring about it. You know?
Yeah, pretty much.
They were like, yeah, okay, we sewed up this market. Well, fuck these JRPGs. We're going to focus on the Western market. Bring in Kratos with his overly violent kills and all that other shit that came out on the PS.
But now in the latest God of War game, he seems to have toned it down a bit.
Oh no! There's a kill in that game where he smashes a guy into a rock, and the rock shatters a little bit. Then he breaks the rock, this big monument type rock, and slams it on the dude's body to open up a new path, to open up a new area to go to. It's still violent. I mean, it's not over the top like it was with David Jaffe, where they had Kyle from I forgot from Living Single doing the voice. I'm like, why'd you? Come on, man. Why couldn't they pay a black man to scream angrily, pretending that he's an angry white guy who screams angrily while killing people? Why? I mean, just they were giving money to the economy.
One thing I'd like to say is that one thing you don't see in RPGs is any survival horror elements at all.
No, you really don't. You really don't.
Like I'm playing one of those games that happens to have said elements, Parasite Eve.
Ooh,
which was
the first one? Oh yeah.
Yep, which was Square's answer to Resident Evil.
And it was good. It was good. There's a part in that game where you see this rat. There's this part in that game where you see this rat mutate, and it's legitimately horrifying. It's like, damn.
Yeah, that seemed scary when I saw it as a kid.
Yeah, the second game's not too bad either. Though they tried to make it more like Resident Evil than the first game.
Yeah, and that kind of brought it down a little bit. Like, that's the thing about Square Enix. They have all of these franchises, and the only one they give any support to is Final Fantasy.
Well, hey, Sega's just as bad. What else is there besides Sonic and Yakuza? Well, they did Puyo last year, but that's it.
Yeah, but at least there's Yakuza. Like, there's other stuff that Sega has put out aside from, like, they helped put out Bayonetta, because I think they own Bayonetta.
They also saved Atlas from bankruptcy too.
Yeah, they bought Atlas. Atlas is still putting out stuff. I mean, at least Sega has other IPs that they'll take a chance on. Square Enix, unless it's Final Fantasy, like the Japanese part of it, unless it's Final Fantasy, and they're sitting on Ogre Battle,
Front Mission as well. They're sitting on Front Mission as well.
Well, no, they're making a spin-off for Front Mission that's kind of like Front Mission Gun Hazard, except it's probably gonna suck because Square Enix just loves effing up stuff that should be a easy layup. They'll just, it's an easy layup. All you gotta do is just hit the corner and it'll go right in. Nah, man, fuck it. That's Square Enix. Easy layup. Let me mess it up and throw it in the crowd. They're sitting on so many IPs that they're doing nothing with. Live Alive. Well, Live Alive is because the people who did the artwork for it is this other publishing house that they just won't touch. But they're sitting on Romancing Saga. They're sitting on Bravely Default now because they put out 2 games and they were like, the second one didn't do that well. Fuck it. I don't know, man. I don't know.
And there's also the blatant favoritism towards like Final Fantasy like 7 and up, because it's funny how these games get HD like remakes and remasters and stuff, but 1 through 6, fuck it, let's just give them both parts.
I mean, let's not forget they did give us that shitty remaster. 4? No, those shitty remaster Final Fantasy VI, where it was just the iPhone and Android version ported on the PC. Oh,
I think there was a Final Fantasy IV was remade for the PSP. I think there was like a complete version, something like that.
Yeah, it was also. I think that version was also ported to the DS. Yeah, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but nothing for 5 or 6.
No, man, fuck those games.
That's too much sense, man.
Look, man, look. Unless it's Final Fantasy, except for 13, they keep on cramming 13 down people. Like, really, people love Lightning. I'm like, I don't think people in Japan like Lightning. I think the #1 character that they like from Final Fantasy is still Cloud Strife, followed by, I want to say, Terra from 6. Maybe
or Tidus from 10.
No, Titus is further down that list. I think he's like number 11 or 12. But I'm pretty sure the Final Fantasy VII characters are at the top. With Cloud's #1, and then some 6 characters.
Aerith, where's Aerith on that list?
I think she might be 4 or 5. But I'm just saying, like, I'm pretty sure they really don't give a shit about Lightning in Japan. They're like, people in Japan love Lightning. Who told you that? What marketing research was this? Because I'm pretty sure I have Japanese friends. They don't give a shit about that bitch.
And now Noctis from Final Fantasy 15 is getting his own fan following.
Like I said, what market research is giving us this information? Is my question. Because you can say anything. I mean, I could say I'm president of the nation of Djibouti,
or you can say that your uncle works at Nintendo.
Yeah, my uncle works at Nintendo. I mean, I could say anything. I mean, there's no marketing research to back up that. I could tell you that 9 out of 10 cat owners say they love feeding their cats fresh cat food from Blue Apron. But that doesn't necessarily, there's no marketing research backing that up. So I just said it. And I noticed, but this is the same Square Enix that fucked up Chrono Trigger on PC. So the release of that game. So, I mean, if you can fuck up just releasing a ROM, a ROM that you could just go and get for free.
Just add it. Just add in keyboard mouse support.
I mean, seriously, how do you? I mean, literally. Let's analyze this. How do you fuck up releasing a ROM? Of one of the greatest RPGs of all time.
And it's not that hard to do.
If you're Square Enix, it's very easy. Just
probably, like you're saying, that's probably due to different technical limitations between the SNES, DS, and PC, or something.
PS1.
That's a really good excuse. But you know what the problem is? Here's the problem. Right now, if I wanted to, I could go and find a ROM for the DS version of Chrono Trigger and play it. Even though I don't like the DS version of Chrono Trigger because they try to tie that shit to Chrono Cross. And Chrono Cross is a piece of shit. So, you know, so it would be the equivalent of LucasArts making a film to tie the prequels to the original trilogy. It's like, no, I don't want to see that. I don't want anything tying this shit to the prequels.
Yeesh.
Or sorry, tying the prequels to the original stuff. I don't know.
Or the new stuff, for that matter.
Or the new stuff, yeah. Just don't. I don't want to. No.
Sadly, they did that.
When you killed Han Solo like a bitch, that was when I was like, you know what? Fuck this franchise. You killed one of my favorite characters.
Well, they had to because Harrison Ford was getting sick and tired of playing Han Solo.
I'm sure
he's like 70-something years old too.
But that's not how Han Solo's supposed to go out. Not like a bitch. Not like a bitch.
Maybe the retirement home?
Oh my god.
No, I mean, I'm gonna keep it real. If I was gonna kill Han Solo, I wouldn't have gone with a storyline where he's got to go out. He's killed by his erstwhile son, Kylo Ren, aka Ben Solo, or had Rey, who has every single power. She's even a better pilot than Han Solo, who's been piloting for like 50 some years. Even though she never piloted anything, it was just on that planet. But she's a better pilot than Han Solo.
But it was explained that she was using the Millennium Falcon before she met Han Solo.
Man, come on, man. Come on, man. No, even let's not try and explain away that stupid ass shit. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, let me put it this way. Even if she had been piloting the Millennium Falcon before Han Solo in the film is like 70 something. Okay, let's just say he's in his 70s. Okay, Rey is at most 21, 22 years old. Okay, even if she had been piloting for 5 years. Your skill at 5 years of driving is not going to trump someone's skills who's been driving for 50 years. Because they've been doing it longer than you. They're better at it. You're not this good because they have more practical experience because they've been doing it way like 10 times longer than you have. Okay? So the idea that Rey, I mean, never mind. I'm not going to, this isn't a Star Wars discussion, but my point is that that was the point when I was just like, fuck this franchise. And The Last Jedi was, let me put it this way. I didn't go to the movie theaters to watch that when it first came out. I watched it. I did not pay to see that. I went to go watch something else, and then I snuck in and watched The Last Jedi. And I'm glad I didn't spend money to watch that shit. That's all I got to say on that. Because fuck that movie. But that's neither here nor there. Square Enix has a lot of RPG franchises under the belt, which they have done nothing with. They won't even wipe their ass with them. Like they're just sitting there, Alex, you have any idea why they just kind of sit there and just let these things languish away?
I wish I knew. I wish I could just sneak into Square Enix's headquarters. Will probably wiretap some of the executive phones and or something,
Be the fly on the wall.
Yeah. Be some sort of. Where is Julian Assange when you need him?
Yeah. I mean, the big thing for me is how can you be at least Nintendo, okay. Every few years, Nintendo creates a Smash Brothers game, which celebrates all things Nintendo and puts characters and shit in a Smash Brothers game that even though like there hasn't been an F-Zero game since the 6th gen, you know who Captain Falcon is because they keep the character fresh. Like they keep it in the collective consciousness of gamers. There are games the good games that Square Enix made, Squaresoft, not Square Enix. Square Enix hasn't made a really good game in years. But Squaresoft made, they just kind of just, well, fuck it. We aren't going to talk about it. The game just doesn't exist. And I'm like, I don't understand that shit. I really don't. Either they made or they bought, because they bought the Lufia people, which is why we don't get any more Lufia games, because Square Enix bought the company that makes Lufia, but the studio, I should say. They bought, who else did they buy?
Eidos?
Yeah, they did. They did buy Eidos. But I mean, really, that was a bad deal. I'm sorry. Like they bought Eidos so that they could get Western games that would appeal to a Western audience. So they got Tomb Raider, Hitman, and I want to say the Legacy of Kain. Didn't Eidos make the Legacy of Kain game, or was it someone else?
Deus Ex Machina.
Yeah, Deus Ex, and Deus Ex. And all those games basically did okay, but not gangbusters. I mean, the first Tomb Raider, they wanted it to make like Call of Duty numbers, and it didn't. And they were like, it's a failure. The first Deus Ex reboot they did okay, but it wasn't gangbusters. And they were like, you know, they made a sequel that didn't sell the numbers. They sold the studio that made Hitman and gave them the game, which tells you they didn't give a shit about that. And then they were like, yeah, we don't have the manpower to start working on, we don't have the resources to start working on Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm like, but you bought all these European studios. I don't fucking understand what's going on. I think there's some financial shit going on at Square Enix that's really fucking them up. I don't have any proof, but you know, it seems to me that they just don't have the money to do certain things. They're just like, you know, they don't have the resources, they don't have the money to do it, to pay people to do it. And that the fancy corporate marketing speak where they're like, we don't have the resources. No, you just, you know, years of pissing away money on Final Fantasy and not diversifying your funds, you know?
Yeah, I remember reading an article where, the former CEO Yoichi Wada said that back in 2008, they're only going to focus on their heavy hitters like Final Fantasy, and if any of their employees decided not to follow suit, they'd get fired.
And that's what happened, right?
Yep.
Because I mean, and I remember reading that. I think you wrote that article where Yoichi Wada, and people like to say Yoichi Wada. Look, Yoichi Wada fucked up because he led the company to jumping into Sony's pocket. And it was a good short-term deal, but long-term, that fucked Square Enix up, okay? It fucked them up bad. I mean, they're bleeding out of their ass after they did that. But it was a good short-term deal, you know, because they made Final Fantasy VII, and that is the highest-selling Final Fantasy ever. The problem is that they went all in on Final Fantasy to the detriment of all their other IPs that should have, the smart thing would have Final Fantasy do well, but then have all this other shit that also does okay. So then you have multiple revenue streams. It's the reason why when the Wii U wasn't selling very well, Nintendo had the 3DS to fall back on.
And I think the DS too. Weren't they still making the DS around that time?
Well, no, that was the Wii era. The Wii was unprecedented. The Wii was they had the Wii selling gangbusters. They had the DS selling gangbusters. It was... You know, that was the It Print's money generation. The Wii U was a little bit different because the Wii U was using better tech, but they had the 3DS to fall back on. The 3DS is still making money. I mean, they're still making money off of that system and the games and the software for the system. So, I mean, you want to have, if you're a company, you want to have different revenue streams and not just have everything be dependent on one thing. Because if that one thing fucks up, you're fucked.
Yeah.
And that's what happened to. I think that's what happened to Square Enix. They went all in on this Western push. We're gonna go with what was it called? We're gonna go all in with Tomb Raider and Hitman, and we're gonna put I remember they were like, yeah, we're gonna put Kingdom Hearts 3 on the Xbox One. I'm like, why?
Japanese games don't sell on Xbox. They never have.
Yeah, any Japanese game that hits an Xbox, that shit dies. I mean, go ask Hironobu Sakaguchi how his Japanese games did on the Xbox 360.
Yeah, ask Sega how well Shenmue 2 and Panzer Dragoon Orta did on the original Xbox.
Yeah. Those games, they sold gangbusters, not. Exactly. So it's like I don't know. I mean, I just don't see it happening. I just don't see. I think Square Enix is in a make or break moment where they're either going to have to get a cash infusion. Like, people are like, well, why won't they bring Dragon Quest 11 over for the 3DS? I think
Sony.
It's a money thing. I think it's
Sony. I think it's
a Sony and a money thing. I think they don't want to put the money out to localize it themselves, and they don't want to go with a deal. Like, basically, they probably have a deal in place with Sony to where, like, the first games are going to have to hit. It's going to have to hit Sony first. Like, they're going to have to be the leading console of Sony's. So, and to be fair, the leading console for the 8th gen is the PS4. So, I mean,
the 3DS too. I think the 3DS is close.
The handheld. So,
yep.
I mean, personally, if they were smart, they would put it out for the 3DS and for the PS4 at the same time. But basically, Sony has Square Enix by the balls, so
Yeah, basically a puppet.
Yeah, they got them popsicled, so like Sony says jump and Square Enix says how high.
Pretty much.
Sony says toilet paper and Square Enix rolls. Okay, like that's basically how they. I mean, it's sad, but I mean, they're the one who got in bed with Sony. I mean, I wouldn't. I'm like, I don't trust y'all with nothing.
Sony's basically the Hans Gruber from Die Hard.
Yeah.
There's that. I don't think that's going too far.
Yeah. I would say they're the Mr. Big.
Okay.
They're the Barzini.
Yep.
Sony is the Barzini of the gaming community. And let's see. Microsoft is the
They're the lesser two evils here, I'd say.
Well, I would say Microsoft is the shitty they're the sleazy Vegas criminal. They're the Mo Green. Like, it's like, you really don't know, like, you know your shit, but if you're getting involved with our shit, you really don't know who you're fucking with. Like, that's Microsoft. Hey, we'll just throw some money around and that'll make everything okay. It's like, you really don't know how it works around here. This is the mafia, bitch. And I'm gonna give Nintendo the honor of being the Corleones. Because really, I mean, especially back in the day with Yamauchi, shit. Very Corleone-esque.
This industry could use enough for Yamauchi at this point.
I mean, it would be really interesting to cover, but I don't think we could go back into that because Yamauchi was like, "Fuck y'all, I'm gonna do what I need to do."
Well, he did it because he cared about the industry, like Sony doesn't.
I would say he cared about having a stable industry where you could make money over years and not just take the money and run. Because Yamauchi understood that if you have steady customers, that's better than like someone who's going to drop a lot of money now and you never see them again. Steady customers are always going to be better than someone like, as someone who owns a business myself, it's better for me to have 200 customers who come to my business over a month and spend, $50 to $100 every week, 4 weeks in a month versus, two or three customers spend $200 a year and visit like once. Like, steady customers will always beat, someone's going to drop a lot of money and then you never see them again. And I think Yamauchi understood this. Keeping your base happy is better than, taking the money and running, which is what Sony does. Those bastards.
So holding developers at gunpoint if they don't support their system.
Well, Nintendo did the same thing, but Nintendo was like, look, we're going to be the leading platform. You're going to make a game for us. You can't port what you make for us over to someone else's shit. You're going to have to make another version, make a completely different game for those people. And I mean, basically Sony right now is doing a lot of the same thing. But the thing is that the industry then, when Nintendo was doing that, is in a completely different place than it is now. Like, it's more expensive to make games. Like back then, you could make a high quality game for like $10-15 million, and it could sell 1 million, and you made like a huge amount of profit. It's not like that anymore. Like now, you have to spend 100 million just to make a game, and if it sells like 100 million just for the game, and then maybe another 50 million for the advertising, and if you sell 1 million, you're still in the hole. I mean, we're in a different industry now. It's not, and I mean, how much of that is gamers' fault? How much of that is the industry's fault? It depends on who you ask. Personally, I think it's the industry's fault because they keep on pushing the wrong shit. Oh, look at these graphics. Aren't these graphics great? You can see the sweat on this guy's face. Isn't that great?
Like Nat.
Yeah, I like Knack. You can see individual particles. I'm like, yeah, but the game sucks. Well, don't talk about that. Look at these particles. I'm sorry. That was cold to me. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
So, anything else we want to ramble on about Square Enix and their incompetence?
No, we could do an entire podcast about how incompetent Square Enix is right now, and how, I mean, like, here's the thing. I have no proof. I can't prove that Square Enix is in financial trouble. I'm just saying that they've been making a lot of moves where it's like, some of it is like, okay, this is a financial issue. This is not a secret deal under the table issue. So whatever. But anyway, yeah. So anything you guys want to pimp out? Alex, you want to pimp out your new article on Discus?
Oh yeah, it's like an alternate history. Like, what if Square joined forces with Sega?
If that had been true, the Sega Genesis was Sega was probably still in the console market, because
I'm doing like what if Square decided to support the Saturn instead of the PS1?
Yeah, Sega would still be in the console market because they wouldn't have lost as much money on the Saturn, and they probably would still be in the market. No Xbox for one thing. Those fuckers wouldn't be here, so thank God for that. But I'm sorry, I don't like the Xbox. But yeah, it's a really good article. If you guys get a chance, read it, because it's really good. And most of Alex's articles are really, really fucking good. Well researched too. Yeah, anything you want to pimp out, Pinky?
Well, let's see. I got several things. One, Platinum Games is interested in porting Wonderful 101 onto the Switch.
I second that emotion.
Another is that there might be a Switch version of Paladins, aka the Overwatch clone.
Wait, that game was canceled, wasn't it? Like, they pulled the plug on that game because it's not doing very well.
Nope, it's still going.
Yeah, but it's really not doing that well. Like Overwatch has like 80% of the pie for the MOBA multiplayer games, and like 70%, and Lawbreakers has 20%, and Paladins has like 5 or 10, something like that.
All right. So I've been hearing from one of our contributors articles that many Paladin players as well as Overwatch players are switching to Fortnite.
I can understand that.
All right, moving on to other news. Wolfenstein 2's physical version for the Switch requires internet download.
She's angry or confused?
Like, did I hear that correctly? It requires an internet download,
yep.
or
Yep, it requires an internet download.
What requires an internet download?
Wolfenstein 2, the physical copy for the Switch.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sarcasm off.
No, I'm serious. No, because the game is probably like they probably got the smallest cartridge they could, and like they were probably like, okay, this extra little bit of memory or patches or whatever has to be downloaded. Like the extra shit has to be downloaded. I mean, it's the reason why I kind of felt like, why do I have to use a memory card for this when I could just use a hard drive, like a formatted hard drive with a USB hard drive? Like that'd be cooler, but it is what it is. I mean, I know why, because people like the aspect of the portable nature of the Switch, but I use mine as a home console, and having an extra hard drive attached to it that I already have just formatted for it would be a lot more convenient for me than fucking buying a $200 half a terabyte memory card.
Oh yeah, did you happen to see the article I posted on I posted an article on Nintendo Power, and I noticed that you're somewhat of an NBA nerd. I posted fairly back in '92, like Nintendo Power interviewed I'm not sure if you heard of this guy. He was on the Detroit Pistons bad boy squad, Bill Laimbeer.
I remember Bill Laimbeer.
Yeah, they Nintendo Power interviewed him over this one game on the Super Nintendo that he was starring in called Bill Laimbeer's Combat Basketball.
Oh man, that game is so bad. Oh, it's so bad.
Speaking of bad games, Night Trap is coming to Switch.
Oh god.
I have to say, it's just why.
That game is. There's so many games that should be ported to the Switch before Night Trap.
And I've seen some people praising the announcement. I don't know if they're praising it ironically or unironically.
I think they're doing it just to mock Nintendo fans, pretty much.
Look, if you're still trying to fight this, if you're a Sega fan and you're still trying to fight the stupid ass, if you're still fighting those playground wars we had, when we were kids, Sega does what you can jump. My Sega does this, and we have this. Look, I'm gonna say something that's gonna hurt your feelings. Sega lost. Get the fuck over it. Okay? And I know what you'll say.
And I've seen John Turner's post praising the game coming to Switch, and hopes that the PC version of Final Fantasy VII comes to Switch as well.
Which is not happening in a million years.
No.
The Detroit Lions won the Super Bowl before Final Fantasy VII ever comes out on a Nintendo platform.
And I'm okay, because Final Fantasy VII is not that good anyway. I mean, I'm sorry, it isn't. I mean, look, listen. There's so many other Sega CD games that should come to the Nintendo Switch before Night Trap. The Sega CD version of Final Fight.
Or Lunar. Lunar games.
Silver Star Saga.
The original Shin Megami Tensei got a Sega CD port, actually.
Yeah, or Snatcher. I think that got a Sega CD port too. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, there's so much. There's so much stuff that should be ported before Night Trap, because Night Trap sucks. It's not a good game, okay? It's not a good game. Like, here's the thing. If you're going to port something, port some shit that's a good game, but just didn't really get its following. The only thing that's popular about Night Trap is that it was used to help create the ESRB. That's it. It's a shitty game. Damn.
I think Mortal Kombat also did that to help create.
Yeah, it was Mortal Kombat and Night Trap. Except Night Trap's here's the thing: the original Mortal Kombat is okay. I mean, I never liked Mortal Kombat because it was like, why should I play this when I can play Street Fighter, which is a better fighting game? At the time, it was a better 2D fighting game than Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat 2 is better than the first Mortal Kombat. And then Night Trap, which is shit. It's one of those video games. It's one of those games that have FMVs where you just watch mildly disturbing little skits. Little clips, and you choose options. It's not even. It's not a good game. Shit, it's ass. Damn.
Well, to quote AVGN, it's ass.
Yeah, it's not. It's.
Yeah. Did you ever see his Sega CD video at all?
I probably did, but. It didn't really stick with me that much. I just remember, here's what I remember about the Sega CD as a kid. I remember when I went to my friend's house, because I had one of those friends who had everything. And I went to his house, and I sat down, and he showed me the Sega CD. And he had 3 games for it. Night Trap, Sewer Sharks, and
Sonic CD?
No, it was some other, because here's the thing. When the CD systems came out, most of the games were shitty FMV games. That's what you had, were shitty FMV games. And all he had were FMV games for it. He didn't even have any of the good Sega CD games, like Final Fight CD.
Sonic CD.
He had the shit that just had FMVs. And I remember seeing Night Trap. I'm like, this game sucks. I played it for 10 minutes. I'm like, this game sucks. And then I played Sewer Shark, and I'm like, this game sucks. And then I played the third game, and it wasn't Plumbers Don't Wear Ties, but it was one of those FMV games. And I'm like, this game sucks.
Yeah, that one came out on the 3DO.
Every single but some of those 3DO games got ported to the Sega CD and the Sega Saturn stuff and re-released, and I think a few of them were even put on the PlayStation. FMV, when the CD systems first came out, most of them were FMV fests, and they sucked. Okay. FMVs were basically the precursor to overly CG games, where it's instead of having gameplay, they have a computer generated image of you doing something, and that's how they move the game along. Except that's all you had in FMVs. It's ass, okay?
Wouldn't that be movie games?
Basically, yeah. It's the precursor to movie games. It's like, oh, we don't need to program shit. We'll just have this whole motion video. Someone sounds mad.
Yeah, somebody does.
Be right back. Be right back, guys.
Okay.
Well then.
Unexpected.
To say the least.
Is story time still going on?
No, we were just we were pimping out our stuff, and then we kind of went off on a tangent about how basically FMV games just sucked back in the day. Night Trap's being brought back, and we're like, there's so many better games to be ported. There's so many better Sega games to be ported to the system than Night Trap.
But the TurboGrafx CD had a much better library than the Sega CD did.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
a lot of good RPGs on there. A lot of good platformers.
I mean, I think on the TurboGrafx CD you had Snatcher SD Super Deformed. That's actually a really good RPG, but it's Snatcher, and it's really good. I'm like,
Also, Castlevania game, Rondo of Blood.
Yeah. Rondo of Blood, the superior version of Rondo of Blood, is on the Sega, is on TurboGrafx CD. I mean, it's just like, I mean, there's so much better shit to port to the, like, here's the problem of having a popular console. Shovelware.
Lots and lots of shovelware.
I mean, that's how you know a console. That's how I know that the Wii U wasn't as, everyone's like, man, it was a commercial failure. It got shovelware, so it couldn't have been that bad.
Even the Saturn got shovelware, and it couldn't have been that bad either, even though it only sold in Japan.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It sold in Japan, so I mean, the Wii U sold okay in Japan, and it did okay in America. It got creamed in Europe, and everywhere else, but it did okay here, and it did okay in Japan. And commercially, it wasn't a commercial failure. It made money for Nintendo, not as much as they would like. It didn't sell. Like if you compare the Wii U to the Wii, it was a failure because the Wii sold over 100 million units, and the Wii U barely sold 14 at the end of its life cycle. Barely had 14 million units, which is sad because the Wii U, in my opinion, is a better console than the Switch.
Really? You think so?
To me, it was more convenient. I mean, I know a lot of people, look, I know people are going to get mad at me when I say this, but hear me out before you jump to conclusions. For me, as a gamer, the Wii U was more convenient. The Wii U, yes, I can't take it everywhere, but here's the thing. I'm not going to take my expensive-ass Switch that I spent $300 on everywhere so someone can snatch my shit or break my shit. No. So for me, as a home console, the Wii U was a better option. Because at the most, I might take my Switch to the bathroom. Everyone's like, "Hey, man, I can take my Switch to the bathroom. I can take my Wii U to the bathroom. That's not a selling point. Well, I can take mine to bed. I can take my Wii U to bed, and plus it has Netflix and Hulu and Amazon on it, so I can watch my shit on it while and not just play games all the time." Because I have because I can use any USB compatible drive with it, I can download a huge amount of games, and I don't have to worry about, man, do I have enough space? I don't have to. And here's the thing: standard SD and standard hybrid drives and HD drives have gotten really cheap. Like you can get a 300 gigabyte one for like $30. Like $40. Okay, and that's kind of cheap. You can Black Friday, you can go and get the shit on sale, or whenever they have a tech sale someplace. And storage is cheap. If I want a 300 plus gig, like those little small mini SD cards that you have to use for the Switch, you're looking at like $70. And that's just, I mean, to me, that's unacceptable, especially when they're like, okay, some of this shit has to be downloaded. And they give you 32 gigabytes of flash memory, which is like nothing really. Just to me, and plus, like, there's certain things where the Switch kind of struggles with on a technical level. Like Xenoblade Chronicles 2. Like if you play that game for a long time, you go to areas where there's a lot of stuff going on, and it struggles to load areas that on the Wii U, which is supposedly the weaker console, never happened. So I'm like, yeah, to me, the Wii U is a better home console. The Switch might be a great portable because you're getting damn near console equivalency that's portable for you, but as a home console, the Wii U is just kind of edges it out a little bit. Plus the two screens, it still holds up. Like Splatoon without the two screens,
it's not. It feels bad in a sense.
It doesn't. It's not as good in my opinion. I know some people are gonna get mad. How dare you? The Switch is perfect. I miss the two-screen experience with a lot of games.
Same
I'm like,
here.
This game would be so much better if it had two screens. And I know you mapped it to a different button scheme, but it's just not the same.
Mm-hmm.
I know people are going to get mad and cuss me out and say, how dare you? Look, I own a Switch. I own every Nintendo console I own. Okay? So I don't want to hear people say, oh, you're not a true Nintendo fan. Every Nintendo console I own. And if there's a Japanese version, I own that shit too. I have a Famicom and a NES. I have a Super Nintendo and a Super Famicom. I have a Nintendo 64. I have 2 Nintendo 64s. I have 3 GameCubes. I have 2 Wiis. I have 2 Wii U's. I have a Switch. Okay, I have the major games for all those consoles. Okay, but just to me, the Wii U was just a better console than the Switch is right now. You know, it could change further down the line.
We'll see.
Yeah, it might get better.
Speaking of the NES, I'm thinking about like picking up either that or a Famicom eventually.
Well, just a little bit of collector's advice. The Famicom, if you want to get Little Samson kind of cheap, the Famicom is the way to go.
We're thinking of getting the AV Famicom actually, and getting a disc system as well.
That's what I'm saying. If you get the disc system, the disc version of Little Samson is like, you can get it even now for like $50 or $60 versus the American version of Little Samson, which is like $500. So you know, the choice is yours. And here's the irony: Little Samson's actually a good game.
You know, one bad thing I've heard about the disc system is that the belts go bad on them after a while. You have to get them fixed.
You have to replace them. But I mean, this is back in the day when Nintendo built. I mean, Nintendo still builds their shit still pretty sturdy. But back in the day, yeah, I mean, you can replace those parts or get someone to replace them. I used to do a lot of that stuff myself, but it got to the point where I was like, I don't feel like hunting for these little parts because Radio Shack went out of business. So a lot of shit you used to be able to order from Radio Shack, and I don't feel like ordering it and then trying to get the parts for it. So I just know a guy who he helps restore some of my arcade machines, and I just have him do the shit because I mean it's the same tech for a lot of the stuff, just smaller. So I'm like, yeah, could you check this out for me? Could you change this? If you're going with TurboGrafx, I would tell anyone this: if you want to get into TurboGrafx gaming, don't get the American TurboGrafx, get a PC Engine, because the parts for the PC Engine are better. Because after, like, they use really cheap parts for the TurboGrafx 16, so it's like after a while the connections go out and it just burns out. It's kind of like the Red Ring of Death before the Red Ring of Death. Those cheap bastards.
Yeah, another reason why I'm planning on getting a Famicom is I plan on going back to school to learn Japanese this fall.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, though I hear it's hard as balls, I'm willing to give it a shot.
Well, I mean, it depends. Like, if you can take the courses where you're just learning certain types of Japanese. Like, if you're just trying to learn Romaji, that's easier than trying to learn all of it at one go. A Romaji or a katakana or hiragana. And then kind of like go with one first, and then as you get good at one type, then it gets easier to do the other ones. If you want to get a leg up, start watching Japanese animes and films with subs, like original language subs, because then you begin to get context with when people say certain things. That kind of helps a little bit.
Okay. I've heard kanji's the worst, though.
Yeah, kanji is kind of a bitch. But I mean, the problem with Japanese is that there's like 4 different types of kanji. There's like formal kanji. There's informal kanji. There's the country version of kanji. Like it's like shit. And that's why Japanese is sometimes difficult to learn. But I mean, like, that's what I was saying. If you just pick one version of Japanese to learn, and then because all of them are related, so like you begin to pick up other stuff depending on the context of the situation. So it's like any foreign language. As you learn certain stuff, you can begin to put it together. But I mean, if you try to directly translate anything, even when you're fluent with a language, it's a bitch because some things don't. translate directly.
Yeah, well, I'll try I'll try it out. Got a lot of like Japanese Saturn games that they're all Japanese text only. I mean, I don't play them. I feel like maybe I should just learn the language and then try them out.
Yeah, but some of them you don't even need to.
Yeah, some of them you don't have to.
You don't need to know Japanese for like
some of the basic stuff like Resident Evil, Mega Man. Also like plan on going to Japan next year.
You're gonna love it there.
Yep.
Japan is a great place to visit.
Yep. Yeah, my mom has a couple coworkers that go there all the time. I'm gonna try to ask them to see if I can tag along for the trip.
It's a great place to visit. Although for me, whenever I go there, I normally like meet up with the friend that I did the semester abroad with, and he translates for me for free. I kick him some money, but like he's not officially charging me for it. So because although I will say this much though, don't get drunk with Japanese people.
Okay.
Don't do it. If they offer to go out drinking, just
don't do it.
They'll drink you under the table.
No. Though, if they're people you don't know, here's what I learned when I went to Japan. Japanese people who don't know you and you're a foreigner will get you drunk and then talk mad shit about you. No, they'll talk mad shit about you because you don't speak the language.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
If you work with them, they'll get you drunk and then ask you really kind of leading questions and then go tell someone above you about it. Like look, Japanese people, by and large, very polite, very hospitable people. But some of them are two-faced as fuck. So I kind of I'm just saying, don't get drunk don't get drunk. Just if they ask you to go out drinking, like maybe like have one drink and get that freshened up as you go along the night. Don't drink a lot of stuff. Drink lots of water to dilute it. Don't drink on an empty stomach.
Oh yeah.
Just don't get drunk with Japanese people. Although if you want to have fun, go to the karaoke with Japanese people and have them do karaoke for Michael Jackson and listen to them fuck up Michael Jackson songs. It's the most hilarious thing because they're laughing because they think they're singing really well. But in your head, you're like, I know how this goes, and they're fucking up this song, and it's so funny. Like, it's hilarious because they mix up their R's and L's, and the accents are really bad, and it's just great. It's one of the best things in the world. Like when I went to Japan, like smartphones weren't as in America, and I didn't have one, and I wish I had because I could have recorded them murdering Beat It. Oh man. Oh Jesus, that was one of the most fun nights I ever had. It was like during Golden Week there, and this just oh man.
Golden Week's in the summer, isn't it? I think it's in the summer.
It's like spring.
Okay.
Them, but for us, that'd be fall here because it's the other side of the world. Yeah. Man,
I've been told it's really expensive to travel there during Golden Week.
Well, I didn't travel there during Golden Week. I traveled there at another time. It was semester abroad, so that was 2 quarters. So
I've been heard that the best time to travel is in the fall.
Well, fall for us, spring for them, or is it spring for them, fall for whatever? Anyway, when I went to my semester abroad. Basically, I stayed there for 2 quarters, stayed with the family. Family was cool. The kid was cool. He and his sister were cool. The kid, I stayed at their place. They were cool. And I had a lot of fun because I didn't speak the language, but I was with a lot of Japanese, like the kids I was with, they were Japanese and learning imperative English. So it was good. It was good. Like we could communicate with each other. And knock on wood, I never had anyone ask me if I was from Africa.
Well, that would have been stupid.
From New York? You from Africa? It's like, no. That's the one problem with going to visit a country where it's mostly homogenous and people just the only people of color that they see are people on TV.
Yeah, the only American cities they know of are like New York, LA, Chicago, Dallas, Houston. They don't know any of the other cities.
And maybe DC. Like maybe DC.
Yeah, maybe DC, yeah.
And then, I mean, you know, I'm just lucky that I never had anyone come up to me and say, "Hey, are you from Africa?" It's like, well, not originally. My ancestors
probably for the best.
You know, I mean, that'd be like me going up to a Japanese person. Are you from China? Well, technically speaking, the Japanese people, the non-native Japanese people to Japan were exiled from China. But I mean, you wouldn't say that to them. But you know. But anyway, yeah, it was Golden Week. We went to a karaoke. Listening to Japanese people murder American songs is like the best shit in the world. it's one of the pure joys of the world. It's like watching a puppy with no teeth bite someone's thumb, and watching a Japanese person murder an English pop song. Oh,
I'd like to see the Murder Alice Cooper songs. That'd be hilarious to see.
I don't know about that, but them trying to murder a Michael Jackson song, it's like the best shit ever. You will, like, I was laughing my ass off. I was almost rolling on the floor. They're like, "What's so funny?" I'm like, "Hey, you'll never get it. You won't understand why this shit is so hilarious. You'll never get it." But it was. But yeah, the only thing I will say that I didn't like about Japan was their pizza is by and large
bad,
fucked up because they put mayonnaise on it, which is just
what? WTF?
Yeah, I mean they make like pizza like we'd have here in America, but you have to order that. Like their standard pizza that because my first week, like we were at the end of the week and I was finished my classes and he was like, "Yeah, let's go out to eat. We're in the first week. Come on." I was like, "Sure." And we went to a Pizza Hut in Japan and the dude orders pizza and it's got like fish and mayonnaise on it. I was like, "Man, you done fucked up now, son." I didn't say that. I was like in my head. I'm like, when in Rome, I take a bite. I'm like, no, man. And here's the thing: Japanese mayo is really good, but pizza and mayonnaise don't go together. It's like something in here does not fit.
I was gonna say
one pizza place I worked at had a BLT pizza which had mayonnaise on it. Actually, not making it up.
Why are you putting eggs on a pizza?
They put mayonnaise on a pizza. Yeah, it's weird. I mean, there's when I went on my European trip, there's some things where it's like they put mayonnaise with it and you try it and you're like, actually this works. Like mou frites, mussels and fries, or steak frites, steak and fries, where it's like you have mayo with it, or like steak frites where they make this lemon accented mayo. And it's like, I mean, I don't think this is gonna work. And then you dip the steak in it, and you've got a lean piece of steak with the richness of the mayo, and it actually works. Or you have mou frites where they take these fries and they sprinkle it with malt vinegar, which you have the sourness of the vinegar and the rich fattiness of the mayo. It actually works. But my God, I mean, pizza's already kind of rich, Like, but then again, cheese isn't a big thing in Japan, so I guess that's why they go with the mayo over, the cheese. Even though me personally, I'm like, look, if it's pizza, it doesn't have cheese. It's just not pizza.
It's just dough with some, I don't know, stuff on it.
It's flatbread with some shit on it. That's what it is.
This is what happens when we get into certain topics, ladies and gentlemen.
As it turns out, my parents don't want me to don't want me to transfer my 3DS on to Nintendo headquarters to fix the system update I have with Ultrasun because they think it's too much. It costs too much money, $75 for a simple repair.
It's not too bad.
Well, I mean, look, man. If it's not your own money, then you got to pay. Look, you're not paying.
The thing is, I'm using my own money with my debit card, but my mom's really upset I'm using my debit card because she doesn't want me to share the code of my debit card to anyone else, especially on customer service.
It could be worse. I mean, I spent over $500 at an anime convention, but I'm not gonna. I keep that secret.
I mean, it's look, man. I mean, I can't really give you advice because I don't know your family situation. So all I'm gonna say is do what you got to do, and if you can't do it, then do what you. I mean, if do what you got to do, whatever it is, boom. I'm going to end the podcast because I think we kind of went off on a tangent. But look, man, it's BS Busters. Sometimes we go off on tangents. That's what we do here. Be free.
And don't worry, ladies and gentlemen, there will be a sci-fi power hour-ish next week.
Yes. This week, some stuff came up. Couldn't get enough people, and next week we'll have some stuff to talk about because we will talk about Infinity War.
It'll be on Saturday, right?
No, Friday.
Oh, Friday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, Friday at midnight. Yeah. Friday at midnight. Yeah, because 27th. So it'll be out Friday. But sci-fi Power Hour is going to be Saturday. So
I can make that. I think I can make that one.
We'll be talking about it because it's
you're going to spoil territory. I'm going to be exiting for that round.
Well, no, we're not going to spoil it. We're just going to say whether we like it or not, give our opinions if people should see it. So yeah, it's going to be fun. And obviously we'll be doing a BS Busters next week. It's going to be a little bit different. I have a different topic for BS Busters next week because we were talking about food.
Well, I gotta go leave shortly. So.
Okay then. So we're about to say goodbye. He left. Okay, so peace.
And beware of the juices.